10. Death on the Red Sea. In early summer of 2022, 2 women were killed in brutal shark attacks in Egypt's Red Sea. The attacks happened over a weekend, with the deaths prompting officials to close an entire stretch of coastline. The Egyptian Ministry of Environment said the women were more than likely attacked by the same shark near the resort of Hurghada. The governor ordered that all water activities in the vicinity be suspended until they could apprehend the shark responsible, or at least find out what happened. The first victim was a 68-year-old Austrian woman named Elizabeth Sauer. A mako shark bit off her arm and leg, and she bled to death. She was in extremely shallow water, looking around with a snorkel, when the shark came out of nowhere, chomped off her limbs, and the water boiled red with blood. The tragic killing of Elizabeth was caught on camera by other tourists who filmed the whole thing unfold. The second attack came on Sunday, just 2 days after the first death. The second victim was a Romanian woman on vacation in Egypt. She thought she was going to get some rest and relaxation at a beautiful 5-star hotel on the Red Sea, but instead, she was eaten by a shark. And there's an extremely high chance it was the same one that ate Elizabeth. Normally, the Red Sea coastal region of Egypt is not a dangerous place where people are eaten by sharks. Yet, in recent years, it's gotten more dangerous. Prior to the brutal deaths this year, a young Ukrainian boy had his arm bitten off in 2020. That same year, an Egyptian tour guide lost his leg in a different shark attack. 9. Stranded in the Gulf. A fishing trip turned into a waking nightmare in early October 2022, when 3 friends got stuck in the Gulf of Mexico. Their boat sank, and they were almost eaten by sharks before finally being rescued. Sun Win, Luan Win, and Fong Li embarked from the suburb where they live in New Orleans to go fishing for some red snapper. They got about 25 miles, or 40 kilometers from shore, when the engine started giving them issues. They tried to return to the marina, but the waters got choppy, and their boat was swamped. Eventually, the boat sank, and all 3 friends were left floating in their life jackets for 3 days. They were reported missing by a concerned family member when they did not return home. During their long time stranded at sea, they became the interest of some sharks. According to Luan, one of the sharks swam straight up to him and clamped its teeth down on his life vest. He was extremely lucky the shark bit the vest and not his chest, or he would have died right there and then. Thinking quickly, Luan jammed his thumbs into the shark's eyes, causing it to swim away. That seemed to be enough to ward off other sharks, and nobody wound up getting eaten. They were eventually saved by the Coast Guard 28 hours after their boat sank. Even though all 3 fishermen were saved and nobody suffered any long-lasting injuries, the ordeal at sea was extremely traumatic. Luan says that between fighting a shark and almost freezing to death, his offshore fishing career is over. 8. Danger in Western Australia. A man from New Zealand named Robbie Peck had his arm almost completely ripped off his body during a savage encounter with a shark off the coast of Western Australia. Robbie was only saved thanks to his brother-in-law's fast reflexes and quick thinking. The attack happened on Port Hedland in Australia in early October. Robbie, a chief engineer working in Western Australia, was spearfishing with friends when a bull shark came out of nowhere and latched onto his arm. The shark didn't continue with the attack. It just kind of bit his arm, then swam away. But the bite was hard enough that Robbie's arm was mostly detached from his body. He may have drowned or bled to death if it wasn't for his brother-in-law, Clive, who dragged Robbie onto their boat and immediately turned back to shore. It was also Clive who thought quickly and used the rubber from a spear gun to make a tourniquet, then used a wetsuit to keep the tourniquet in place. This quick thinking likely prevented Robbie from bleeding to death in the boat on their way to get treatment. Robbie was taken to Royal Perth Hospital and made a genuine recovery. He did need extensive surgery and is still in rehabilitation to make his arm work properly, but it should fully heal with time. 7. GRANGE Beach Shark Encounter. Andy Burnell is a passionate fisherman, an avid kayaker, and a lover of marine life. One of his favorite things to do is bait a GoPro camera, drop it into the water, and film the hungry creatures who come for the food. It was thanks to this camera that he captured his own unbelievable encounter with a great white shark off the coast of GRANGE Beach in Australia. It happened on a Sunday afternoon in October 2022. Andy paddled his kayak less than a mile offshore and dropped his line and paddled around for about 30 minutes. He then returned to safety, packed up his stuff, and went home. It wasn't until he was sitting on his couch that he learned he had been stalked by a great white shark. And Andy downloaded his footage and started skimming through it. He saw something that made his blood run cold. For at least 10 minutes, a great white shark had been directly under his kayak following him. It wasn't a monstrous great white and was probably only a juvenile. Still, the video showed a large injury on the shark's right fin, suggesting the beast was no stranger to violence. If it had wanted, it very well could have knocked Andy out of his kayak and taken a huge bite out of him. Andy called the encounter mind-blowing, saying it was a nice reminder of just how close to a shark you can be without even knowing it. 6. Snorkeling in England. In midsummer 2022, a snorkeler was bitten by a shark in one of the last places you would expect to be attacked by a shark. The snorkeler was off the coast of England, of all places, when she was unexpectedly bitten in what the experts have called a rare incident. The Maritime and Coast Guard Agency had to send a rescue team to meet the snorkeler, who was bitten on her leg by what was almost certainly a blue shark. Blue sharks can grow upwards of 13 feet, or 3.9 meters long, and populate the waters around the UK in the summer. They migrate through the ocean hunting fish and shellfish, and their migration always brings them briefly off the coast of England, but they aren't typically considered dangerous. The blue shark is near threatened, as classified by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. People around the world hunt for its flesh and fins, and it's often a victim of fishing nets. Because of this, their numbers have dwindled significantly. But this summer, that didn't stop a blue shark from attacking the snorkeler, almost taking off her limb. So far as we know, there was no permanent damage done. The individual was treated by an ambulance on the scene and made a full recovery. There have only ever been 4 confirmed fatal blue shark attacks on humans, with 25 non-fatal attacks. 5. Bitten in Taylor County. In June 2022, Addison Bethia was scalloping her brother near Keaton Beach in Taylor County when a shark latched onto her leg like a gigantic leech. According to what Addison told reporters from her hospital bed at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare, the first thing she thought of was a special she had seen on the Animal Planet about punching sharks in the nose. Since it had its teeth buried in her leg and wouldn't let go, she tried to punch it in the face but couldn't twist her body to reach the animal. It was her brother, who happens to be a firefighter/first responder, who had to beat the shark off Addison with his bare fists. Her brother then got her back in their boat, drove back to shore, and Addison was airlifted to Tallahassee. This was a rare attack, as sharks don't typically try to eat people in this part of Florida. Still, experts warn scallopers not to clean their scallops in the water or they might attract sharks. 4. Death on a family cruise. A woman from Pennsylvania died in early September of 2022 while on a family cruise in the Bahamas. Her death came during a snorkeling expedition with her family in Green Cay. The family had taken the Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas cruise, which docked in the Bahamas to allow the cruise participants to explore the local area. The family of the woman who died organized their snorkeling excursion separately from the Royal Caribbean, using a local tour company. There were about 5 other people in the tour group with her and her family members when they began snorkeling. Everything was going just fine until a gigantic bull shark showed up. Local police say family members saw the bull shark come out of nowhere and bite down on the woman's upper body. It was horrific and traumatizing for everyone in the water. The 58-year-old woman had to be practically pulled from the shark's mouth by her own terrified family members and employees with the tour group. They managed to get her to the shore, but she was already dead. The bull shark had crunched down on her upper torso, essentially crushing all the important organs inside her chest. She was declared dead at the scene by emergency crews before her family could even come to terms with what they had just witnessed. 3. Bitten by a dead shark. In July 2022, a teenager on Long Island in New York was attacked by a shark. What makes this attack especially unusual is that it happened on the same day a shark washed up dead on the beach. The dead shark, which was a great white, was spotted on Dune Road Beach at about 9:30 in the morning. But before police could remove the animal's corpse, it washed back into the ocean. It was shortly after that when a teen paddled 20 yards or 18 meters off the shore and got bit on their right foot, sustaining a serious laceration and suffering a minor amount of blood loss. It wasn't too bad though, and the teen was able to walk out of the water and get transportation to the hospital. When the Suffolk County Police Aviation Team responded with a helicopter, they found the water too murky to locate the shark that bit the teenager. What we don't know is if the shark that bit the teenager was alive, or if the teens somehow got their foot caught in the mouth of a dead shark that got washed back out into the water. As crazy and unrealistic as it sounds, there is a possibility that he was accidentally bitten by a dead shark. Of course, he wouldn't have gotten bitten so much as his foot would have slid across the shark's exposed teeth, resulting in his 4-inch or 10-centimeter laceration. 2. Antonio Stracciolini was 56 years old when he was swimming in the waters off La Piscinita in March of 2022. La Piscinita is on the tropical island paradise of San Andres in Colombia. Sadly for Antonio, he became the first ever fatal shark attack in San Andres history. Nobody knows exactly what happened out there in the water. According to eyewitnesses, Antonio had been swimming around in the sea for quite a while before the incident occurred. He was swimming fairly close to the island. Then suddenly he started shouting for help. As he screamed for someone to save him, the water around Antonio became dark with blood. Antonio was eventually rescued and pulled to shore, but he was in really rough shape. The shark had taken a huge chunk out of his right thigh, and he was bleeding profusely. He went into a state of hypovolemic shock, which is when a person loses way too much blood. Then, before he could even be taken to the hospital, Antonio died from his injuries. This is now the first recorded shark attack on this particular Caribbean island. It's known for its beautiful white beaches and snorkeling, not for its shark attacks. We don't even know which shark was involved, although local marine biologists believe it was a tiger shark. 1. The nightmare shark of the deep. It was late in 2022 when a deep-sea angler reeled in the most nightmarish shark ever found. From 2,130 feet, or 649 kilometers deep in the ocean, the fish was captured off the coast of New South Wales in Australia. And nobody is really sure what it is. Even the best shark experts are baffled by the creepy creature. It looks like something straight out of a nightmare. The shark has bulging eyes, a weird set of fangs protruding from its mouth like the creature from the Alien movies, and it smells like a human. That's probably the creepiest part of all, that it has a distinct human-like aroma. The fisherman who caught this monstrosity said it has skin like sandpaper, a pointed snout, and that he had never seen anything like it. Some guessed it could be a breed of cookie-cutter shark, known for leaving cookie-cutter marks on its victims. Others speculated it could be a lantern shark. Then again, it could be an Endeavor dogfish shark or a kitefin shark, or even worse. a previously unknown breed of terrifying shark trolling the deep sea for victims. Thanks for watching. Would you rather find yourself in shark-infested waters or crocodile-infested waters? Let us know which creature scares you the most in the comments. Remember to hit subscribe if you haven't yet, and we'll see you soon.